Imagine you've invested years of your emotions into a relationship, and you're waiting for that one day the person will change. Sounds relatable? Welcome to Psych Insight, where we view the world through the lens of psychology. If you find this content helpful, please share, like, and subscribe to join our community and stay updated with our latest insights. Thank you for watching. We're diving into the depths of emotional investment and hope, two powerful forces that often keep people tethered to relationships with narcissists. Emotional investment isn't merely about the time you've spent together. It's the shared experiences, the tears, the laughter, the dreams, and even the fights. All these are threads that weave the fabric of your relationship. And then there's hope. The flickering flame of hope. It's the belief that one day the person you fell in love with will finally emerge from behind the narcissistic mask. It's the anticipation that the good days will outnumber the bad ones, that the honeymoon phase will cease to be just a phase and become the norm. But here's the catch. Narcissistic behavior follows a cycle. There are intermittent periods of positive reinforcement, moments when your partner is kind, loving, and everything you've ever wanted them to be. These moments fuel your hope, make you believe that change is possible. But are these moments of genuine change, or merely a part of the narcissist's game? Dr. Ramani Durvasula, in her book, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Surviving a Relationship with a Narcissist, sheds light on this dilemma. She explains how some partners hold on to their relationships because of the emotional investment they've made and the hope that their narcissistic partner will change. But what we need to understand is that hope is a double-edged sword. On one side, hope can be a beacon, leading us out of the darkest times. But on the other side, when hope is misplaced, it can keep us stuck in a cycle of pain and disappointment. So it's essential to differentiate between hope and illusion. Is the change we're hoping for based on concrete actions or just empty promises? Are we holding on to the person our partner could be or the person they've shown us they are? But we must ask ourselves, is this hope or just an illusion? Ever found yourself going in circles, hoping for change, only to be met with disappointment? This is the cycle of hope and disappointment. After the emotional investment, we often find ourselves on a roller coaster of emotions. This ride is characterized by high peaks of hope and deep valleys of disappointment. You may find yourself constantly hoping that your narcissistic partner will change, only to be met with disappointment when they revert back to their old ways. This cycle can be exhausting and emotionally draining, but it's also a crucial part of understanding why we stay in these relationships. The hope that things will get better can be a powerful motivator, but it can also blind us to the reality of the situation. It's important to recognize that hope should be based on concrete actions and changes, not just words or temporary improvements in behavior. If your partner consistently shows no real effort to change or improve, it may be time to question whether the hope you're holding on to is realistic or just an illusion. It's crucial to remember that you deserve a relationship where you're valued and respected, not one where you're constantly hoping for change that may never come. After all, hope is not a strategy for a healthy relationship. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the trap of codependency in our next scene. Ever feel like you're stuck in a never-ending cycle where you need your partner just as much as you want to free yourself from them? Welcome to the world of codependency. In this scene, we'll explore the intricate web of codependency often found in relationships with narcissists. Codependency is a behavioral condition in a relationship where one person enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. In the context of a relationship with a narcissist, the codependent partner often finds themselves trapped in a cycle of catering to their partner's needs at the expense of their own. They become the primary source of narcissistic supply, constantly feeding into their partner's need for admiration, validation, and control. This dynamic can be incredibly draining and damaging to the codependent partner's mental and emotional health. Yet, despite the pain and turmoil they experience, they often find it challenging to break free from this cycle. Why? Because codependency creates a false sense of purpose and identity. The codependent partner derives a sense of self-worth from being needed, from being the savior or the caretaker. They mistake their partner's reliance on them for love, further entangling themselves in the destructive relationship. Furthermore, they often fear that without their partner, they'd lose their sense of self or purpose. It's a painful paradox, where the very thing causing them distress also gives them a sense of identity. The trap of codependency is a complex one, rooted in patterns of behavior that often stem from past experiences and deeply ingrained beliefs. Breaking free from this trap requires self-awareness, courage, and often professional help. Remember, you're more than your relationship, and your worth isn't defined by how much you sacrifice for others. Did you ever feel that being alone is scarier than enduring a toxic relationship? This question, as uncomfortable as it might be, is a reality for many. The fear of loneliness, of being left to navigate life's ups and downs without a partner, can be a powerful tether, binding us to relationships that are far from healthy. Now let's delve into this fear. It's not just about being physically alone, but about feeling emotionally isolated. It's about the dread of not having someone to share your day with, someone to lean on in times of stress or uncertainty. This fear can be magnified in a relationship with a narcissist, who often uses isolation as a control mechanism, making their partner feel they have no one else but them. But here's the crux of it. This fear of loneliness often outweighs the hardships of the relationship. It's a scale, with loneliness on one side and the emotional turmoil of the relationship on the other. And more often than not, the fear of loneliness tips the scale, making us choose the familiarity of the known pain over the uncertainty of the unknown. However, it's essential to remember that loneliness isn't an inevitable outcome of leaving a toxic relationship. It's a temporary state, one that can be filled with self-discovery, growth, and the potential for healthier relationships. It's also worth noting that being in a relationship doesn't immunize us against loneliness. In fact, feeling alone while in a relationship can be far more devastating than being alone. The fear of loneliness is a formidable barrier, but it's not insurmountable. It requires courage to face this fear, to acknowledge that it might be what's keeping us tethered to a relationship that's causing more harm than good. Yet, is enduring toxicity the only antidote to loneliness? The answer, quite simply, is no. The fear of loneliness is a powerful force, but it's not an unchangeable fact of life. It's a fear that can be faced, understood, and ultimately overcome. Society's expectations and financial entanglements, how much do they influence our relationship decisions? Let's dive in. Societal pressures can play a surprisingly powerful role in our decision-making process. We live in a world where relationships, particularly marriages, are often seen as a measure of success. The fear of being judged or stigmatized for ending a relationship can keep many people trapped in toxic dynamics. Family obligations can further complicate matters, increasing the pressure to maintain the status quo. Now let's throw in the stigma of separation or divorce. Despite the progress we've made, it's still a societal taboo that carries its own set of fears and anxieties. The fear of being labeled a failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of starting over, all these fears can make us cling to relationships that are clearly detrimental to our well-being. But there's more. Financial dependency is another significant barrier that often complicates the decision to leave a narcissistic partner. Money, as we all know, plays a crucial role in our lives. It provides security, comfort, and to some extent, freedom. When one partner is financially dependent on the other, the decision to leave becomes even more challenging. This financial entanglement can take many forms, from shared assets and joint bank accounts to one partner being the primary breadwinner. In such cases, the fear of economic instability or even poverty can be paralyzing, making it incredibly difficult to envision a life outside the relationship. Let's not forget that financial abuse is also a common tactic employed by narcissists. By controlling the financial resources, they can effectively trap their partners in the relationship, making it nearly impossible for them to leave. So, we find ourselves at a crossroads, stuck between societal expectations, financial dependency, and our own happiness. It's a tough spot to be in, But remember, understanding these pressures is the first step towards making a conscious decision about your relationship. So, are we living for ourselves or for society's expectations? How much are we willing to endure for our self-esteem and our children's sake? This question resonates deeply as we delve into the intricacies of self-esteem and childcare considerations in narcissistic relationships. Being in a relationship with a narcissist can feel like a constant battle, one where you're always on the losing side. Over time, this constant erosion of your self-worth can lead to a diminished sense of self-esteem. You may begin to believe that you don't deserve better treatment or that you couldn't possibly find another relationship. This is the narcissist's trap, a cunning strategy of emotional manipulation that keeps you tethered to the relationship. But what happens when children are involved? The decision to stay or leave suddenly becomes even more complex. There's a natural desire to provide a stable family environment for your children. And yet, staying in a toxic relationship for the sake of the kids can often do more harm than good. In reality, children are incredibly perceptive. They pick up on tensions, arguments, and negative atmospheres, even when we think we're doing a great job of hiding it all. They learn about relationships from their parents, and a dysfunctional relationship can set a harmful precedent for their future interactions. Moreover, the potential impact of a separation on children is a valid concern. It's essential to remember, though, that kids are resilient. They can adapt to changes, especially when those changes lead to a healthier, happier environment. The key here is communication. Explain the situation to your children in a way they can understand. Reassure them of your unconditional love, and ensure they know that the separation is not their fault. So, we circle back to the original question. How much are we willing to endure? Is it worth staying in a relationship that drains your self-esteem, knowing the potential harm it may inflict on your children? This isn't a decision to be taken lightly. It requires deep introspection, courage, and often professional help. But remember, you are stronger than you think, and you deserve to be in a relationship that respects and values you. When do we say enough is enough for our sake and for our children? We've traversed the landscape of emotional, psychological, and situational factors that often bind people to their narcissistic partners. From the emotional investment and hope that fuels the perseverance in such relationships, to the fear of loneliness that often confines us in the labyrinth of dysfunction, we've explored the numerous forces at play. We've also delved into the societal pressures and financial dependencies that can feel like invisible chains, keeping us attached to relationships that do more harm than good. The societal expectations, familial obligations, and the stigma around divorce or separation can indeed make the decision to leave a challenging one. Financial considerations further complicate this decision, especially when one partner relies on the other for their livelihood. In addition, we've touched upon how such relationships can erode one's self-esteem, making us believe we don't deserve better or couldn't possibly find happiness elsewhere. This, coupled with considerations around children and their well-being, can make the decision to stay or leave even more complex. But let's take a moment to reflect on our own experiences. How do these factors resonate with us? How are they influencing our decisions? Are we holding on to hope, fearing loneliness, succumbing to societal pressures, or trapped by financial dependencies? Are our decisions influenced by our self-esteem or concerns for our children? As we ponder these questions, let's remind ourselves of the insights and anecdotes shared by Dr. Ramani, drawn from her wealth of clinical experience. Let's remember that she is not just highlighting these factors, but also introducing strategies for coping and healing. These strategies are not just about surviving a relationship with a narcissist, but about thriving in the face of adversity. So, as we move forward, let's remember that the decision to stay or leave is not a reflection of our worth, but a testament to our strength and resilience. Remember, the decision to stay or leave is about making a self-aware choice. It's about prioritizing your well-being in the face of narcissism.